said yesterday on the program that the one thing I like about, because I am a Ted Cruz supporter, and I want you to, I mean, as you know, it's not a secret here. The thing I like about Ted Cruz is I never have to apologize for my candidate switching his opinion or being inconsistent or saying something ridiculously obscene or offensive. I don't have to worry about him calling people names. I don't have to worry about his record 5 years ago or last September. I know who he is. That's what I like about Ted Cruz and being a supporter. I don't have to make excuses for him. The one thing I like about, because I'm also a Rand Paul supporter. The one thing I like about being a Rand Paul supporter is that the guy knows the Constitution, and I don't have to apologize for his record either. The only thing I've ever had to apologize for Rand Paul is him getting into bed with Mitch McConnell. I have also not liked, and I've said this to both Ted Cruz and Rand Paul from the get-go. Please, don't torpedo each other. You guys are the constitutional experts. Please don't torpedo each other. Ted Cruz has not torpedoed anybody that I know of. Do you know of anybody he's come out and said any bad things about?
No, he's had some squabbles with Rubio because Rubio has accused him of being soft on immigration. They've gone back and forth a little bit like they did at the debate. I don't think, and Rand has attacked him before.
Many times.
But I don't think Cruz has really responded to Rand.
If there's two people in this race that I could easily vote for, because my biggest thing is we have got to restore the Constitution. So what I'm looking for in a candidate may be different than what you're looking for. I need a constitutional guy that I know is going to be rock solid on the Constitution. Ted Cruz was quoting the Constitution, reading the Constitution aloud from memory when he was 13 years old on some sort of weird, like almost child abuse kind of 13-year-old tour where you had to memorize the Constitution. So he's known it from the get-go. Well, so is Rand Paul. Rand Paul, I don't know if anybody notices this, but his dad was Ron Paul.
The Constitution's best friend.
So he knows the Constitution inside and out. The thing I like about Rand Paul is extraordinarily deep. He knows, he can tell you about the Federalist Papers. He knows the Constitution inside and out, and so does Ted Cruz. Here is something that I think Rand Paul has just done that is shameful. Shameful. I like Rand Paul. This is shameful because he knows. Now, they're asking about Ted Cruz and is he eligible to be president of the United States? This is settled. This is clear. Yes. It was John McCain went through this. Yes. Barry Goldwater went through this. Yes. Herbert Hoover went through this. Yes. It's settled. It's clear. And anybody who is as smart as Rand Paul knows it. There might be a few candidates out there. I don't think Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton, quite frankly, can quote the Constitution by any stretch of the imagination. And I'll bet you there's some others. Well, Donald Trump can't quote the Constitution either. I'm not talking about a regular candidate. I'm talking about Rand Paul, the Constitution's best friend. Because he wants to gain a point, because he wants his name in the news, he says this. Listen.
Yeah, I think without question he is qualified and would make the cut, to be Prime Minister of Canada. Absolutely, without question, he's.
Okay, hang on. Okay, so that one.
That's
okay,
fine.
I'll take it. He's
joking,
making a joke.
Whatever.
As long as you come back and say he's qualified.
Nah, he's qualified.
Okay, you can make all the jokes you want.
That's what you would expect, right?
You would make all the jokes you want.
Yeah,
qualified, and he meets qualifications.
What about for your primary, your caucus, your nomination, the White House?
I'm not an expert on the natural born clause in the Constitution, and people have various opinions.
Can you believe he said that? I'm not an expert on the natural born clause of the Constitution. This guy has at least set himself up as a constitutional expert from the get-go. And as you said, I believe he is.
He is.
So that's why this is so bogus and so disingenuous.
He absolutely knows.
Pathetic.
People believe it means you need to be born here. Some people believe it means that you can be born in another country as long as your parents are a citizen. And so we've had
Stop. Yesterday, I read the statute to you. Yesterday, I read the analysis. It doesn't take very much to understand what George Washington and our founders were doing when they wrote that at the very beginning.
And he knows the intent.
And he knows that.
He knows the intent.
I'm sorry, Pat. How many presidents were not born in the United States?
The first 7.
The first 7. Okay? The first 7. It is
British
one parent.
Subjects.
One parent has to have lived in the United States, has to be a citizen, and lived in the United States when they were in their teenage years, and at least 5 years, I think it was, or 5 or 10 years. That's the way. That's the way.
You read it in detail yesterday.
Yeah, in
Cruz
detail.
fits every one of the clauses.
His mother is a lifelong citizen. His father was here on a visa,
legal resident.
A legal resident, had been living here for decades.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
previous cases of it, but I don't think we've ever gone through the court system for the Supreme Court to decide one way or another. It is interesting, and I think sometimes people point out that it's a double standard in the sense that people went out hot and heavy, including Donald Trump, about President Obama when there was really nothing more than conjecture that he wasn't born in the country. And yet there hasn't been really the same outrage at all for someone who actually is born in another country.
Senator, your wife Kelly's here. I feel like I'm under the microscope, and
that's pathetic. That he would say he would make
John
it out
McCain,
like there's some sort of hypocrisy involved here.
John McCain, and he knows very well that John McCain was born in Panama. Are you kidding me? You know that the guy who picked Sarah Palin and it made your dad pop a blood vessel. You know that he was born in Panama. You know it. I mean, that's crazy.
It's embarrassing.
His father was doing the Ron Paul revolution against the guy. If this was against the law, if this would disqualify, Ron Paul would have campaigned on it as the Constitution's best friend. He was running. He would have brought it up. Excuse me, one reason why I should be on this stage is because you're not qualified to be the president of the United States. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's just like an attempt to. He's not saying that he's ineligible. Of course, he knows he's eligible. He's just trying to cast a little doubt out there.
No, all this is. You know what this is about? 2 or 3 percentage points. That's all this is. They just want to take 2 or 3 percentage points off of Ted Cruz. That's it. Don't let it be a runaway in Iowa. Just knock him down just a little bit. Slow him down just a little bit. That's what this is about. This is not even about a win. You don't even win. You're just trying to knock the legs down from under a guy.
He has no shot.
I mean, it's
Rand
crazy.
has no chance, and he knows that. But what I think has happened, I think they've all gotten together, and they've said, let's at least take Cruz out. Let's just...
I don't know if I buy into that.
I do. I bet you Huckabee...
I bet you Huckabee and Santorum. And maybe
Rubio. Even Rand.
I don't know about that. I think the Rubio people, the Huckabee people, and the Santorum people...
Definitely.
Probably.
Definitely.
After that interview, though, pretty convincing.
Santorum is very upset at me. He's very upset at me.
I'm very upset at him. Are you?
Should I read this?
No. You should not read any.
Yes, you should.
No, you should not.
He's very upset at me.
Look, if you
He's very upset at me, and I
talk show host,
right?
That's implied consent.
I like Rick Santorum. I like and respect Rick Santorum, but this was just foolish nonsense.
Well, and then you're talking about his ad. Right?
What?
You're talking about the Santorum thing? You're talking about his ad he did?
The ad was just
and then the 3 days afterwards, where he's doing all these interviews, and doubling down
with
and
the
making
Blaze.
it worse.
Including with the Blaze. It's nonsense. It is so far beneath these guys. I expect this from Donald Trump. I am not surprised by Donald Trump. Have you heard us gone on this rampage on Donald Trump saying this? We're like, come on, he knows. We play his audio. We're like, this is ridiculous. He knows. That's it. With Rick Santorum, I was a little upset because He's better than that. He is absolutely better than that. And Rand Paul that's shameful. Rand Paul, that is so far beneath you. I respect and deeply like Rand Paul. I respect him. I respect his views. I would vote for Rand Paul. That is so far beneath him. It's shameful. It's shameful. He knows better than that. This is what people don't like about politics and politicians. You all of a sudden become somebody where you wouldn't say that. If you weren't running, you wouldn't say that. If you didn't have something to gain or you were trying to hurt somebody else, you would never say that. If I was sitting in a room with Rand Paul and I said, is he eligible? He'd go, yes, of course. There's other opinions out there, but none of them are serious. Yes, of course he is. And he knows the history. He knows the history.
And the same, and as soon as if Ted Cruz were to become the nominee, none of them would say it anymore, and then the Democrats would start saying it.
Yes. Who was it that started the birther thing on Barack Obama?
We all know it was Hillary.
Hillary Clinton's campaign. So we're doing the same thing.
But it was her.
We are becoming. I got to tell you something. The GOP is no different than the Democratic Party. No difference at all. They're all flocking to a guy who's not saying anything. I gotta give you hope because we're gonna have change. I'm gonna make America great again because I'm gonna do it. And don't ask me any details on how we're gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. And we're gonna do it and it's gonna be great. And we're gonna change and I'm gonna get them. And I'm going to get them because I'm great. And I'm going to fix things overseas, and it's going to be great. Well, what about your record? What about the flip-flops? What about the guys you've been hanging out with? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Hope and change. Make America great again. It's going to be great because I'm going to be there. It's going to be great. And what do the people who are against him do in his own party? I think his birth certificate should be checked. I don't think he's qualified to be president of the United States. It's the same damn story, other side.
Except it's worse because we expect more.
Exactly right.
We expect more.
Exactly right. I was shocked and surprised by the level of stupidity and, quite honestly, evil that I thought was happening with the Democrats over the last 8 years. I'm disgusted by those who, now, if you were, for instance, we talked about this yesterday off air. There was a guy who I gave a speech recently, and he came dressed as Benjamin Franklin. And I'm like, oh, jeez, for the love of God, stop dressing like Founding Fathers. He came dressed as Benjamin Franklin. I started talking about Trump, and he got up in disgust and left the room. How dare you talk about Ben Franklin? You think Ben Franklin? You're dressing up as Ben Franklin, but you think Ben Franklin would agree with the Constitution, the constitutional views of Donald Trump? Really? That's what I just can't get my arms around. These people who I expect it from the Democrats. I don't expect it from us. I thought we stood for more.
I thought we were only spending the first hour really angry.
It's not me, it's you.
Oh, okay. My fault.